In this video, I'm going to show you how to make sweetened plantain chips. It's important for me to emphasize that you cannot use the sugar directly, because if you use the sugar crystals directly, then you are going to be having sugar crystals after frying the plantain chips. So the best way to avoid the sugar crystals coating on your plantain chips is to sweeten it by boiling the sugar. And instead of me boiling this for long on the pot, since I only have 2 tiny plantains to make, I'm going to be microwaving this so as to allow the sugar to dissolve completely. So I've used half teaspoon of sugar, and now I'm dissolving it in 1 spoon of water. So while that is microwaving, I'm going to peel the plantain. I already explained that you shouldn't work with unripe plantain directly. It's best to coat your hand with some oil so that you don't get the black sap from the plantain, so that it doesn't darken your palm. So I'm just coating my hand with some oil. I'm just going to peel this. So you want to get the best result. If you want it to be really crispy and not soak a lot of oil, you want to use the unripe plantain for this purpose. And I think I've cut this too deep, because you can see some of the plantain is on the peel of the plantain. So I'm just going to lift this up. So if you lift it this gently, you don't have to use your nail, because I don't even have any nails to use. So now I'm going to be cutting these chips, and the best way is just rubbing it against. Don't be too fast, because you can cut your thumb. Depending on the length that you want, if you want it to be really long, you will need to lay this flat, but this length is already a reasonable length. That's why I told you to use green one. You can see this is the thickness you want. If it is thinner than this, it's fine. It will be crunchy, but it will be susceptible to what do you call it, breaking into smaller chips, so they won't withstand a lot of pressure during transportation. And gradually I've made the plantain to be shorter in slices by turning it like this, so you can see. So now I'm having different sizes of plantain. A lot to do. Make sure that you always try to scratch this edge. It causes friction, and that can make you to cut your fingernails. I will stop here before slicing the second one, and this is because I'm going to be frying the plantain in a smaller pot. And I'll just gently add this, because the oil is hot enough now. I just transfer the single slice that we've made into the oil. So it seems this pot I'm using is smaller for a single plantain. So if you are working, it's best to work with a pot that is slightly wide, so that the plantain is not going to be folding. One thing that I also learned while growing up when we make these plantain chips is that after you add the plantain into the oil, it's important that you are continuously stirring it gently, because at the beginning, when you add the plantain into the oil, it has the chance of them still clumping together in the oil, which we do not want. So that's why I'm using the chopstick fork. You can use that to do the mixing. And now that I'm certain that they are not clumping together, I will leave it for it to fry. So this can be frying for, let's say, 3 minutes. But it's best that you don't leave the kitchen, just stay with it. Once there are less bubbles in the oil, that's indication that there is less water in the plantain, meaning that it's getting dry. So I told you the hint that when the plantain is getting ready, like for you to know that it's finished frying, you can see that we have less bubbles in this oil compared to when we just added it at the beginning. And some of the plantain seems to have successfully clumped together, and that's because the oil, the size of the pot I'm using is too small for the amount of plantain that are added into the oil at the beginning. I was being optimistic, thinking that this small pot can take a single plantain in a single go. So I should have used 75% of the amount of plantain I poured into this oil. So we are not going to repeat that mistake in the second one. If you are still watching this, you will see that at the second stage, as I'll be frying the second one, I will add less amount of plantain, and at the same time you will see that not clumping the plantain together will actually allow the plantain not to fold together. So you can see our beautiful plantain. It's yellow, it's crispy, and even though I've added sugar to it, you're not going to be seeing sugar crystals clumping on this beautiful plantain that we just made. So like this, so that the plantain is not getting folded up like the way I poured it in the first time. So each of them, though you can see that it feels like I've stacked them on each other, don't worry about that. They are not going to be clumping together. So you can see again, we've gotten the cue that it's ready. Less bubbles in the oil. And we just transfer this out. So trying to pack everything at once. And I'm going to transfer it to the put it at one side. I hope you can see the sugar crystals in my hand. I don't know if the lighting is allowing it. If it is not, then when it's finished, I will take a photo of the one I coated with sugar directly and the one that we transferred into the oil using the salt sugar solution.